The thing to remember when setting up the shingle hoist is when you begin, you always want to make sure that you have the space on the top of the ladder between the rung and the top frame. There's a larger space here and a smaller space down here. Always start with laying the ladder with the larger space on top. The next thing we'll do is you can add extensions to this ladder to make it longer. You begin by removing the top frame assembly. Take the bolts out here and here, slide that off. Take the next section, again making sure that the spacing is the same here as it is here. Large space on the top, small space on the bottom. Take that and slide it together. And just begin by inserting these bolts on the outside in. They have wing nuts on each side, carriage bolts on the outside. So go ahead and tighten all 4 of these up. Okay, so then we'll put the carriage frame head on here, and whenever you're putting these sections together, including this head, they only go on one way. The bolt holes are to the lower part of the frame, so you can't flip it back and forth. It will only go on one direction. So in this case here, bolt holes are lining up. Slide that on. Insert the bolts just like the extension. That's how you begin to do that. And you can add several extensions, as many as there are available. And again, always picking this header off and putting it at the top to run the cable through to bring your shingles the whole way, or whatever you're tearing the whole way to the top. The next thing we'll do is put the cart trolley onto the ladder. The best thing I found to do is always block the ladder up with something. In this case here, I'm just going to slide a piece of the extension underneath. That way it keeps these feet hanging down. That way they don't get up into the way when you're trying to put the track on. Next, just take this thing here, lay your carriage on top, line up the wheels, and it'll slide right on. And make sure the wheels are lining up when you do that. When you got your carriage in place, you can go ahead and take the extension out of it. At this point, we're ready to run the cable to the top, back down again to the cart, and then we'll hang the drive motor on the back side of the ladder. So let's go ahead and set the ladder up now. Okay, we're going to start by running the cable. Go ahead and remove the pin that holds the cable in place. Always take the cable, run it up through this part of the frame. If you run it over here, you'll get it in the way of the ladder when you end up hooking this thing up. So once you've got it out like this, we'll hold up the release right here, and go ahead and pull yourself a good bit of cable. You'll need enough to run it up to the top of the ladder and back again. And it just depends how much ladder you have there. So we'll start with this amount of cable. I'm now going to take the cable, we're going to run it up to the top. Again, on the back side of the ladder, because the drive unit will be hanging on the back side of the ladder. Take it through the pulley. I'm just going to pull all the cable that I have through there. We'll run the cable back down the ladder. At this point here, you just want to take it behind the frame. We'll pull this pin off right here. Pin drops off the bottom. And slide the pin back through the cable, or actually put it from the bottom there. It's easier to put the pin back on, back to the bottom. Pin back inside there, snap that in place. Now it's all hooked up and ready to go. At this point here, we'll just take the ladder, we'll set it up. Make sure you have enough cable coming off of the drive unit to allow you to do that. We'll wrap that cable up, and then when we hang the drive unit on the back side of the ladder. Let's go ahead and set the ladder up now. Okay, and when we're ready to set up the ladder, we're going to go ahead and put a bungee holding this tray in place. That way when we set it up, the tray doesn't slide down off the bottom of the ladder. So just take it, hook it on the raft hook right there, go through the pin right there. That way it doesn't slide down there as we go to set the ladder up. Okay, let's set the ladder up. Okay. We have the ladder set up. Okay, after we have the ladder set up, the next thing we want to do is make sure we secure it at the top. Last thing you want it is falling on you. So we'll set up the second ladder. You don't want to be crawling up on this ladder here. We'll go ahead and go up to the very top and secure it at the top. In this case, we've used a ratchet strap at the top of the ladder to secure it. That way it doesn't move. We'll just take the shingles up and down. Okay, we'll go ahead and hook the drive unit up to the back here. Hook it right on there. We're going to set it in between these two sockets right there. The bottom clips in place right here. We'll take some pins and drop them through here. We'll take two locking pins. Drop one through here. Very important to put these pins in place, otherwise the back end will want to swing out as you're bringing up the load. Those locked in place, everything firmly secure. I'm going to go ahead and bring tension up on the cable. I'm just spinning it by hand at the moment doing that. Okay. Next thing I'll do is go ahead and release the bungee that's holding this thing in place. Take that off, let that slide to the bottom. Now the cable is holding the load. Next thing we'll do is attach the power source. This is the drill that we use to run it up and down. Next we'll take the drill, stick it in the slot right here, line up the chuck, slide that on. Use the supplied key on the end of the cord, and we'll just tighten that up. Shouldn't have to go real far. Make it nice and snug on there. Okay, we'll plug that in. And now we're ready to go. So the switch is just going to be on the back here on the handle. The on and off switch, the forward reverse, which make the cart go up and down, is also on the back side of the switch right here. So we'll start by running the drill, and when we pull the trigger, it'll take the cart and I'll run it up to the top. When you leave go of the trigger, the cart will stop and it will hold. There's no brake or anything that you need to put on there. When you're ready to bring it back down again, we simply switch the switch on the drill to reverse and squeeze the trigger. There's no need to release any releases here. Leave all this stuff intact. So just run it in reverse. So we're ready to take the load up. We've got a load in place. We just have the drill in the forward motion, squeeze the trigger. Take the tray to the very top. To bring it back down again, we simply reverse the drill, squeeze the trigger, and you can leave the trigger go before it gets to the very bottom. The only thing that would happen is the cable would just build some slack in it. The best method is to always keep tension on the cable, that way it doesn't get messed up in here on this spool. And that's how you set up and run the shingle hoist.